And my name is John.
My name is Raquel. My name is Princess, and
We are your facilitators for Italian literature, particularly the poem, The Divine Comedy.
The objectives of this lesson are to introduce to you the Italian literature, and the Divine Comedy.
And for you to appreciate Italian literature and the Divine Comedy.
And most especially to make your own literary analysis. Now, are you ready to explore Italy?
And one of its literatures, the Divine Comedy.
So what are you waiting for?
Sit back, relax,
And enjoy!
Ready, get ready.
Buon day, class. E tempo per un'attività di warm-up. That means, good day, class. It's time for a warm-up activity. Now, this activity will be called Word Hunt. This is the instruction, so please listen. The facilitator of this activity will test how fast and active the student's sight and memory in hunting words that are found in the text box. The class will be equally divided into two groups, and each group will be provided one whistle for them to use in this quick searching activity. The facilitator will flash 20 words, one at a time, and each word is given 10 seconds to search in the text box. The first group to whistle and to locate the given word will gain 1 point for every one correct word. But if not, then the other group will have the chance to search for the word. Still 10 seconds per word. And to give a little twist of excitement in this activity, every word that the other group can answer will be equivalent to double points. That means 2 points for one correct lose-a-turn word. Now, just a reminder, each group should be careful in using the whistle so that every group will not blow the chance of gaining points and not give the points to the other group. So are you ready? Let's get started. In 10 seconds, the first word is
Ten, nine, eight, seven, six, five, four, three, two, one, zero.
The second word is
Ten, nine, eight, seven, six, five, four, three, two, one, zero.
now the third word is
Ten, nine, eight, seven, six, five, four, three, two, one, zero.
the fourth word is
Ten, nine, eight, seven, six, five, four, three, two, one, zero.
the fifth word is
Ten, nine, eight, seven, six, five, four, three, two, one, zero.
the sixth word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yes, the seventh word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
the eighth word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
the ninth word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
the tenth word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
the 11th word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
the 12th word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
the 13th word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
the 14th word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
the 15th word is
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Congratulations!
Before anything else, let us know facts about Italy.
Italy is located in southern Europe. To the north, Italy borders France, Switzerland, Austria, and Slovenia. To the south, it consists of the entirety of the Italian peninsula and the two Mediterranean islands of Sicily and Sardinia. Italy's official language is Italian. It is estimated that there are about 64 million native Italian speakers. Roman Catholicism is the largest religion in Italy. Although Catholicism is no longer the official state religion, St. Peter's Basilica is the largest church of Christendom seen from the city of Rome. Italy is the world's largest wine producer. Education in Italy is free and mandatory from ages 6 to 16 and consists of 5 stages: kindergarten, primary school, lower secondary school, upper secondary school, and university.
So let's go now to Italian literature. Italian literature has a great impact in our society today because of the history that mark and leave a story to tell. These literatures were greatly made by different poets who creatively engaged and made the humankind think and appreciate it throughout the centuries past. Italian literature is the body of written works produced in Italian language that had its beginning in the 13th century. Until that time, nearly all literary work composed in the Middle Ages was written in Latin. Moreover, it was predominantly practical in nature and produced by the writers trained in ecclesiastical schools. Literature in Italian developed later than literature in French and Provençal, the languages of the north and the south of France respectively. Only small fragments of Italian vernacular verse before the end of 12th centuries has been found, and surviving 12th and 13th century verse reflect French and Provençal influence. Let's get to know who the founding fathers of Renaissance literature and the poetry are. These people really are amazing in every piece that they made. So, are you ready to meet them? Let's start with one of the founding fathers of modern Italian literature and simply known as the poet. He is Dante Alighieri. Dante is most famous of his work, The Divine Comedy, written beginning in 1302 while he was in exile. Having been banished from his native city of Florence after the Gulf and Ghibelline conflict of 1300s. The Divine Comedy is the poet's description of his journey through purgatory and hell, guided by Virgil, then finally through heaven, guided by Dante's true love, Beatrice. The second one is Francesco Petrarch. He was an Italian scholar, poet, and early humanist. It is widely considered as one of the fathers of the Renaissance by 15th and 16th century Italian scholars. He was one of the first to distinguish his era as being on the verge of emerging from a dark age and that a rebirth of classical scholarship and artistic mastery was upon them. He is best known for his poetry, mostly written in Latin, and his sonnets and models were widely imitated throughout Europe. Petrarch's works were the model for the standardized Italian language, developed during the Renaissance under the auspices of later philosophers and poets, notably Pietro Bembo. And the last one is Giovanni Boccaccio. He was an important Italian author and a poet. The most famous for his collection of narrative tales is the Decameron, written in 1353. The stories are a series of novellas told by a group of 10 young noblemen and women who fled Florence during an outbreak of the plague. To pass the time, each participant tells one story each night for the 10 nights spent at the villa outside the city, waiting out the plague. As a young man, Boccaccio traveled, studied canon law, wrote poems and tales, and attended gatherings with scholars and the Venetian elite. He also wrote the Casibus Verurum Illustrium, or also known as On the Fates of Famous Men. Boccaccio's work has enormous impact on European literature as a whole, as well as on later Italian authors. His Decameron influenced Chaucer and later Shakespeare, notably in the development of form, plot, and character. These are some of the most influential poets in the field of literary world. These people influenced and taught others to see the reality and different ideas and notions through literary pieces. The brief history about the Divine Comedy. The Divine Comedy is a narrative poem written by Dante Alighieri. This poem is an imaginary journey of Dante where he passes through 3 different places. The title of the poem is simply Commedia or comedy, and this word is a medieval or primitive by definition. The term comedy is meant for a tale with a happy ending. It is opposite and not a funny story, as the word has since to mean. The Divine Comedy is composed of 3 books corresponding with Dante's 3 journeys, namely Inferno or Hell, Purgatorio or Purgatory, and Paradiso or Paradise. Each part consists of prologue and approximately 33 cantos or chapters. Since this narrative poem is in an exalted form with the hero as its subject, it is an example of an epic poem. Also, this piece talks about reality behind religiosity that caused the people from the early ages and in the modern generations to ponder and meditate the true meaning of Christianity.
Class, are you ready? Perfect. So now we are going to talk about the life of a well-known writer of the literary piece The Divine Comedy. So here it goes. The life of Dante Alighieri. Dante Alighieri, the son of a nobleman, was born in May of 1265 in Florence, Italy. Dante received his early education in Florence, but later attended the University of Bologna. His learning experiences included a tour in the Florence army when he fought at the Battle of Campaldino. Dante's great love seems to have been Beatrice, probably Beatrice Portinari. Dante and Beatrice met when they were children, and Dante apparently worshipped her. Beatrice was Dante's inspiration for the Divine Comedy. After her death in 1290, he dedicated a memorial, La Vita Nuova, the new life, to her. Though each married, they did not marry each other. Dante instead entered an arranged marriage in 1291 with Gemma Donati, a noblewoman. They had 2 sons and either 1 or 2 daughters. However, records contain little else about their life together. By 1302, Dante was a political exile from Florence. He probably started a Divine Comedy after this exile. Politics, history, mythology, religious leaders, and prominent people of the time, of literature, of the past, and of Dante's personal life, including Beatrice, appear throughout the Divine Comedy. The work was a major departure from most of the literature of the day, since it was written in Italian, not the Latin of most other important writing. Dante finished the Divine Comedy just before his death on September 14, 1321. He was still exiled and was living under the protection of Guido da Polenta in Ravenna. Perhaps still bitter from his expulsion from Florence, Dante wrote on the title page of the Divine Comedy that was a Florentine by birth. Bergin describes Dante as the first important writer to emerge after the Dark Ages, and his work as the beginning of the Italian Renaissance in literature. According to Bergin, the Divine Comedy is a complete expression of medieval philosophy, religion, and culture. The beauty of its poetry and the versatility of its scope, especially in this time when distractions abound, make it one of the most sublime achievements in all literature. While some found fault with the writer who put those with whom he differed in hell, and those whom he favored in heaven, many critics of the day heaped praise on the work which reflected the religious outlook of an earlier day, and yet contained the robust language of the Italian people along with the vivid imagery. Other Italian writers, such as Petrarch, Boccaccio, used Dante's work as a model, the most sincere form of flattery.
Now that you have some information about Italy, Italian literature, and partially for the Divine Comedy, let's now proceed to the literary piece itself.
Okay. Well, hello there. I'm glad you're all here, but before we even begin with this diddly, it would be prudent for us to go ahead and address a few things about Dante's Inferno prior to this presentation. These are serious allegations about a very respected piece of literature, so we should deal with them right away. They are known as things students hate about Dante's Inferno. Number 1. Dante's Inferno was written a long time ago and in Italian. Mozzarella! Number 2. It is very, very long. That's what she said? And number 3. For a piece of literature that is part of something called the Divine Comedy, it just isn't very funny. And that's where we come in. With the author, Dante Alighieri. It's hard to pronounce his last name, so he's more often referred to as just Dante. Now, Dante was born circa 1265 in Florence, Italy. I'm an old fella! He was betrothed to his future wife when he was only 12 years old, but he accidentally fell in love with another woman named Beatrice. They never became an item, and in 1290 she died. Dante suffered terribly. What am I gonna do? And buried his grief by becoming politically active. Now, if you've seen even one episode of The Sopranos, you know Italian politics are difficult. You can act like a man! What's the matter with you? And before long, he'd made many enemies around Florence, and he was exiled. He wandered the countryside and eventually began writing what would become his greatest work, La Divina Commedia, or the Divine Comedy. Now think of the Divine Comedy as a huge work with 3 main divisions: Inferno, which we're studying, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. For those of you unaware of old school church canon, these were believed to be your three options when you died: hell, purgatory, or paradise. Now, these three main divisions were then comprised of smaller parts called cantos. Each division had 33 of them. So, one work, the Divine Comedy, three divisions, hell, purgatory, and paradise, with 33 cantos apiece, plus an introduction that was one canto. That equals 100 cantos. And the reason there's so much blasted math in this film about literature is that numbers and numerology were important to this work. I won't bore you with any more, but keep those in the back of your brains in case we run into them later. Okay, enough of this introductory foolishness. Time to get on with the literature. The Inferno is Dante's idea of what hell will be like. Dante wrote that hell would be made up of different circles, 9 of them in all, which formed a big winding funnel. Ding! He also thought that sinners in hell would be dealt a punishment that was very fitting for their sins. This is called symbolic retribution. You'll see what I mean later. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Inferno is a poem made up of cantos, 33 to be exact, with one canto at the beginning providing an introduction. That's 34 cantos, and nothing short of an Animaniacs hoedown could get us through them all expeditiously. Oh, that reminds me. The number one thing students love about Dante's Inferno, Mr. Announcer Man? That's right, they can use the word hell in class. Oh dear. Here we go. Ding! Canto 1 is an introduction to all of the Divine Comedy. Dante gets lost while walking in the woods. He's 35 years old, which is half the biblical age of man. He encounters 3 terrible beasts, which will not let him pass. Suddenly, a man appears in front of him. Who the heck are you? Hello, I am the ghost of Virgil, the 1st century BC Roman poet, and I'll be your tour guide through hell. I represent human reason, and I'll protect you from all those bad mama jambas down under. Now, if you'll follow me, please watch your step. The first place Dante and Virgil arrive is at the gate of hell. Before he even enters eternal damnation, Dante notices that there are a lot of people outside waiting around. It's a lot like the DMV, but the people punished here are in hell because they made no choices. They did not follow God nor Satan, so they're stuck waiting outside the gate. Now, Virgil and Dante have to cross the river Styx to enter hell. Fortunately, there's a ferry service, and the captain is a demon named Charon. Virgil gets tickets and whips Charon into shape. Oh, down, you big demon of hell! And off they go. There's a pretty stiff wind smelling of you-know-what, and Dante passes out. When Dante wakes up, he finds himself in the 2nd circle of hell. Ding! Now, note that circles are symbolic too. Here Dante sees Minos, who is the acting judge of hell. Minos has a long tail, and as the dead souls arrive in hell, Minos decides where they will spend their eternal damnation. He wraps his tail around the center one time for each circle of hell, and then slings them off into the darkness. Once again, Virgil has to protect Dante from a demon. Get away, you silly fiend! And Minos allows the pair of poets to continue. Dante notices that the souls in this part of hell have been damned for their lustfulness. The punishment, apparently, for being too lustful is to forever be tormented and torn apart by a howling wind. Now, this part is important. Dante begins to recognize some of the people in hell. Hey, I know you! And he points them out to the reader. Big deal, you might say, but then again, imagine if someone these days made a movie about hell and then casually started talking about people he found in hell, especially politicians and people who committed adultery. Go figure. Anyway, Dante starts talking to a pair of lovers who share a wicked story about how they got caught boinking each other, but their punishment for this act is so brutal that, once again, Dante passes out. Ding! Wow, we skipped almost to the end. Now, Dante and Virgil in Canto 33 are in the darkest, deepest part of hell, the 9th circle. I should point out that Dante has ordered the sins of the condemned in hell from least to greatest, and it's most important to note that Dante didn't think adultery and lust were as bad as the greatest sin found in the 9th level of hell. Betrayal. Here's another surprise. Dante imagined that this level of hell would be absolutely frozen in ice. Now, do you know all of the things that can happen now that hell is frozen over? Wow! Anyway, Dante sees several gruesome things here, including one dude who is frozen into the ground and who is literally gnawing on the brain of the guy beside him who betrayed him in his previous life. Now, miraculously, Dante doesn't pass out, so they keep going. Ding! Up ahead, in this last canto of the Inferno, Dante and Virgil finally arrive at the biggest mumbo jumbo of them all, Satan. Lucifer is a huge, towering demon. They pause to admire Satan, who was once a beautiful angel in heaven. You may want to take a picture. This lowest of low levels of hell is named Judeca, after Judas Iscariot, the man who in the New Testament betrayed Jesus Christ for 30 pieces of silver. They find Judas along with two other important traitors, Cassius and Brutus, you know, the guys who helped get rid of Julius Caesar. And these three are suffering the worst punishment of all. They are being eternally chewed to death in the mouth of Satan himself. After that, Virgil speaks up. Now that you've seen the big attraction, Mr. Satan, it's time to make our way back to the gift shop. Okay, hold on please, let's go. Virgil and Dante actually climb down the hairy back of Satan, and in a super weird shift of time, gravity, and space, down becomes up, and they make it out of hell to find that it is morning, dawn on Easter Day. They move on to purgatory, but that's a different story now, isn't it? So, my friends, there is a quick-witted look at Dante's own vision of hell, the Inferno. With apologies to all the circles in between, I hope you've enjoyed the first and last parts, and that you're encouraged to read about the parts of hell we skipped. That way, you'll be sure not to end up there. As I always like to say, music may tame the savage beast, but Dante? Well, Dante knew he'd need Virgil's help. Oh, hell!
The second part of the Divine Comedy is the Purgatorio. Purgatorio picks up right where Inferno left off. Dante and Virgil have just emerged from their tour through hell. The two travelers find themselves on the island of Mount Purgatory at the dawn of a new day. On the shores of the island, Dante and Virgil watched a boat arrive. Guided by an angel, the boat shuttles a new batch of penitent souls to Purgatory. Like these souls, Dante is about to climb Mount Purgatory, learning lessons and cleansing himself from sin in preparation for ascending to heaven. Before beginning to scale the mountains, Dante and Virgil must first pass through Anti-Purgatory. They met a variety of souls, most of whom are shocked to see that Dante casts a shadow, showing that he's alive. Along their travel, they passed through the first spur of the indolent and the second spur of the late penitents. They traveled to the Valley of Rulers and met a bunch of deceased kings. In the valley, a serpent appeared at dusk, only to be driven away by two angels. The penitent souls are unable to travel in purgatory at night, so although Virgil is in a hurry, he and Dante rest until morning. Dante sleeps and dreams about an eagle abducting him. When he wakes up, he finds himself at the entrance to Purgatory proper. Virgil then informs him that Saint Lucia came while he slept and carried him to the gate of Purgatory. They climb the 3 steps to the gate, and the angel guarding the entrance carved 7 keys into Dante's forehead. Now in Purgatory proper, Dante and Virgil have seen 7 terraces to pass through, each of which corresponds to one of the 7 deadly sins. On the first terrace of the prideful, Dante and Virgil observe in the wall of the cliff sculptures representing humility. They come across the prideful penitents who are being punished for their sin of pride by carrying massive weights on their backs. The penitents are permanently hunched over, and Dante takes on their bent position in order to speak to them. Dante remains in this position through the entire first terrace. Identifying with the prideful until they reach the exit, where an angel erases 1 P from Dante's forehead. Dante and Virgil climb to the second terrace of the Indus. Dante and Virgil exit the second terrace, and another angel removes a pin from Dante's court. Now in the third terrace of the Wrathful, Dante has a vision containing examples of judgment. Black smoke, the punishment of the Wrathful, envelopes them, rendering them blind. In the smoke, they met a man named Marco Lombardo, who discourses on imperial and political corruption. Dante and Virgil meet the angel who removes the third piece from Dante's court. As they travel to the fourth terrace of the Slothful, Virgil explains how love determines the structure of birth. He continues to lecture on love and free will. Dante has a nightmare about a siren, but the next day, they exit the terrace and the angel removes Dante's fourth piece. Dante and Virgil ascend to the fifth terrace of the Avaricious Aquarium, where they witness the penitent's punishment, lying stretched face down on the ground and bound by hand and foot. The penitents shout examples of poverty and generosity. Suddenly, Mount Purgatory trembles. This happens every time a penitent soul becomes completely purged and ready to ascend to heaven. An epic poet named Statius joins Dante and Virgil. He turns out to be a big fan of Virgil, and he is also the purged soul for whom the mountain trembled. The trio meets an angel who erases Dante's fifth. On the sixth terrace of the Gluttonous, they encounter a strange tree. A disembodied voice cites examples of temperament. On the sixth terrace of the Gluttonous, they encounter a strange tree. A disembodied voice cites examples of temperance. They encounter a man named Forrest Donati, who explains the punishment of the gluttonous as agonizing thirst and hunger. He points out to the poet Buonaginta de Luca, who chats with Dante about poetry. At the exit of the sixth terrace, an angel removes Dante's sixth pin. Dante, Virgil, and Statius climb to the seventh terrace of the Lustful. Here, among the Lustful, however, they witness the punishment of the penitents, who walk in flames. The Lustful shouts examples of chastity. Dante meets the poet Guido Dinizelli, whom he reveres, and also the poet Arnott Dana. At sunset, the travelers reach the exit of the seventh terrace, and an angel removes Dante's final pin. However, to leave the terrace, Dante must first walk through a wall of flames. He hesitates with fear, but Virgil lures him through with a promise that he will see Beatrice on the other side. Past the fire, Dante sleeps. In the morning, Virgil announces Dante's readiness for the earthly paradise. In the earthly paradise, Dante meets a woman named Matilda, who explains the origins of the wind and water in the forests of the earthly paradise. At the banks of the river Lid, an extraordinary procession passed by, halting before Dante. Virgil disappears, to Dante's distress, but Beatrice appears. At the closing of Purgatorio, Matilda leads Dante to the river Ely and immerses him in the water. He is now ready to ascend to heaven with Statius, Beatrice as his wife.
If Dante's Inferno is about human evil, and Dante's Purgatorio is about human nature and redemption, then Dante's Paradiso is about salvation, goodness, transcendence, and eventually, God. Dante travels with Beatrice through the created cosmos, going from planet to planet and learning about respective virtues at each one. Eventually, he and Beatrice move beyond the created cosmos in what's called the Empyrean. This is where God is. And Dante ends his poem audaciously with a vision and description of God in his true form. Dante presents a vision of the cosmos which is Earth-centered. So each of the planets is circling around the Earth. We now know this to be false, but that's not really the point. Each of the planets represents one of the virtues, starting with the moon, Mercury, and Venus, these three are actually within the shadow of the earth, and so they tend to represent people who are some ways flawed in their perfection. So you have people who couldn't fulfill their vows, people who were overly concerned with fame, people who were overly concerned with love, and these are the three planets. Then we get to the sun, and this is the planet, as Dante understood it, which represents wisdom. And beyond this are the planets that are beyond the Earth's shadow, with Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Mars representing people who died battling for the faith, Jupiter being the wise rulers, and Saturn being the contemplatives. These are people who lived a contemplative life.
So, that's a summary for Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. Did you enjoy the poem? Well, we enjoyed it too. So this time, let us now proceed to our language exercise. And this exercise is called that denotation and connotation thing. We all know in semantics that words have two main kinds of meaning. Their denotative and connotative meaning. Well, denotation is the literal meaning of the word, while connotation is the suggestive or associative meaning of a word. Like for example, the snake. Its denotative meaning is it's an animal that crawls, while its connotative meaning can be a traitor. So, did you get it? Now, since Divine Comedy is evidently allegoric, which means symbols, figures, and characters convey hidden meanings to give the readers moral lessons, let us identify the denotative and connotative meaning of the following words. Now, get one for each sheet of paper. Write your name, fold the paper into two, and on the right side, write denotative. On the left side, write connotative. Now, are you ready to answer? So here's our first word. First word is purgatory. Again, it's purgatory. The second word is heaven. Heaven. Number 3, hell. Hell. Number 4, lion, as in the roaring lion. Number 5, leopard. Leopard. Number 6, angel. Angel. Number 7, Beatrice. Beatrice. Number 8, Dante. Dante. Number 9, Divine Comedy. Divine Comedy. And we're almost done. The last word is demons. Again, the last word is demons. Now you can pass your papers to the facilitators in 5 counts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you for your participation. Now that you're done with your language exercise, let's now proceed to the literary analysis of the Divine Comedy. Well, Divine Comedy is a combination of science, literature of other places, such as Rome and Greece, Christian theology and doctrine, history and politics. It is a work of poetic theology whose truth as a fiction lies somewhere between the Bible and the Aeneid. So there are then a total of 100 cantos, and each volume has 33 chapters. The first one in Inferno introduces the entire poem and thus in a sense stands alone. The novel focuses mainly on life as a spiritual journey. Even if a person sins, he is not lost. The poem is written in the first-person perspective, or from the poet's perspective, and follows Dante's journey through the 3 Christian realms of the dead: hell, purgatory, and finally heaven. The structure of the 3 realms of afterlife follows a common pattern of 9 stages plus an additional and paramount 10. 9 circles of the hell, followed by Lucifer's level at the bottom, 9 rings of purgatory with the Garden of Eden at its peak, and 9 celestial bodies of heaven, followed by the Empyrean, or the highest stage of heaven where God resides. The 9 circles of hell are limbo, lust, gluttony, greed, anger, heresy, violence, fraud, and treachery. The gates of hell are wide and easy to enter. Meanwhile, Mount Purgatory is surrounded by an ocean. People there are purging themselves from the 7 deadly sins, including lust, gluttony, pride, greed, envy, wrath, and sloth. The 9 rings of purgatory are the anti-purgatory excommunicate, anti-purgatory late repentant, the proud, the envious, the wrathful, the slothful, the covetous, the gluttonous, and the lustful. Lastly, the paradise or paradiso is a place of perfect happiness. It is a celestial region with planets, stars, and other bodies. It is composed of Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the fixed stars or the zodiac, and the highest level is the Empyrean. The placement of individual depends on the level of goodness he or she achieved in life, although everyone experiences the fullness of the love of God. And the knowledge of heaven comes only through the grace of God and deep motivation, not through theology textbooks. The poem is evidently allegoric. Allegory is a form of extended metaphor in which events, persons, and actions in a narrative are equated with the meanings that lie outside the narrative itself. The abstract ideas and principles are described in terms of characters, figures, and events. Its primary objective is to give moral lessons to the readers. Although it uses symbols, allegory is not similar with symbolism. While allegory is a complete narrative which involves characters and events that stand for an abstract idea, symbolism does not tell a story. Symbolism uses objects that stand for another object, giving it a particular meaning. Anything Dante found or saw along the way in his journey can be interpreted as an allegory, from the animals representing his mortal sins to the political figure he encounters in their respective places in hell, to even the settings themselves. Allegories were prominent in Dante's writing. The subject Dante wrote was literally the state of souls after death, but allegorically, it is man according by his merits or demerits. In the exercise of his free will, he is deserving of reward or punishment by justice. The allegorical subject of the Inferno would be those who deserve punishment by exercising poorly their free will. The dark forest of error represents Dante's material sins in the world and separation from God. Virgil, on the other hand, represents human reason, which can help to a point in bringing Dante out of the wood. Virgil was the inspiration for Dante. Virgil's hoarseness could refer to his not having spoken since he began his journey into hell, or it could refer to the fact that he had not spoken to the world for some time since he was not a popular writer at the time. It is significant that Virgil cannot speak until Dante speaks to him. The character of Beatrice is a reference to the sacred love of Dante's life. Her very existence is a reminder to Dante of the presence of God. Beatrice, representing divine enlightenment, leads Dante through the Paradiso, up through the 9 levels of the heavens. Clearly, as readers, we can say that Divine Comedy is relevant to our lives, since its composition nearly 700 years ago. Perhaps this is because Dante Alighieri, for all differences between his era and subsequent ones, wrestled with and wrote about concerns that affect all people who have ever stopped to think about them. What is the purpose of this life? Is there an afterlife? If so, how should I prepare for it? Why in short am I here? Well, Dante's answer to those questions will not necessarily be the same as those of each of his many readers, but by asking them, he forces each reader to ask them too, and to wonder how to answer them. one thing that seemed most prevalent in this poem is that life is a journey in which all human beings must overcome obstacles to achieve the ultimate goal, the eternal bliss in the sight of God. Nobody knows if there is real life after death, but living a life pleasing and glorifying God is our purpose here on earth. We have different perspectives about this as we have different religions and beliefs, but after all, we are one and equal in God's eyes. So may we learn to live life to the fullest and love God above all things. So that's the literary analysis for Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. I hope you enjoyed the poem and our analysis, even if it's a very long poem, but it's kinda interesting. This time, do you have some questions? If so, I think this is now your time to shine. You have to write your own literary analysis and send it to this email, wusi.princess@gmail.com. Again, it's wusi.princess@gmail.com. It's interesting to write literary analysis, right? So I hope you enjoy writing!
I hope you enjoyed watching our video presentation.
Just a reminder, don't forget to send your literary analysis
To this